Well, as Wisconsin's governor calls for a ban on gerrymandering or redrawing political maps to favor one party, Republicans gavelled into the special session today, but then they quickly put the conversation on hold until tomorrow. And here in northern Wisconsin, some lawmakers say redistricting has had real effects for years. Northern News Now's Kyrie Johnson heard from some of those lawmakers about what they think needs to happen next. Kyrie.
Laura, district lines were back in the spotlight at the state capitol today, and the main debate between lawmakers on both sides of the aisle centers on how political boundaries are drawn and whether the maps give one party a built-in advantage. These shifting map lines may look simple, but Democratic Rep. Angela Stroud of Ashland says the redrawing of district lines between 2011 and 2024 had major impacts.
We have been one of the worst gerrymandered states in the country, thanks to the 2011 Republican majorities that really just carved districts into a Republican advantage throughout the state.
Now, after 2 years of new maps boosted Democratic representation, Evers wants a constitutional amendment to ban partisan advantage when Assembly and Senate redistricting happens every 10 years. A 2024 redraw also shifted some Republicans into new districts, forcing them to face new voters or rethink running.
These incumbents seem to not want to run races under fairer maps. And, that's their choice.
Former Republican Rep. Angie Sapik cited new district lines, which she says favored Democrats, as a reason she didn't run again in 2024 after becoming the first Republican to win the 73rd Assembly seat in decades following the 2021-22 redraw. Democrats say those ripple effects fueled today's special session and their frustration that Republicans weren't engaging.
Where are the Republicans? Democrats are in the Senate chamber, ready to discuss, debate, and pass the constitutional amendment banning partisan gerrymandering.
And with public pressure growing, both parties are fighting over what Wisconsin's maps look like next.
If we lose trust in democracy, we're in a really dangerous place.
No Republicans agreed to interview with us today. However, former Rep. Angie Sapik, who's now running for state Senate, shared a statement saying, quote, "The governor held a pretend floor session today to combat the maps that he himself drew. That feels like a strong message to the state of Wisconsin that even the governor doesn't believe his own maps are not gerrymandered." To read her entire statement, you can head to our website. Today, Republican Party leaders said they'll keep the session open until Thursday to gather more public input, but Evers says there's nothing to negotiate. Live in studio, Kyrie Johnson, Northern News Now.